What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another FPL video on the channel. And in today's one we are going to be looking at my team selection for game week 5, and if you guys could smash 100 likes on today's video, that would be absolutely sensational. But first things first, let's start off by reviewing how we performed in game week 4. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, even though I got a green arrow, I was very disappointed with the performance, man, because to be honest with you, a score of 69 points considering I used my free hit in game week 4 is pretty trash, to be honest with you, right? That is my personal opinion. So yeah, I got a very small green arrow up to 3.5 million, and it has been a very bad start, right? Let's just call it as it is. Let's say it as it is. Let's call a spade a spade. It's been a terrible start to the season. But let me tell you guys this. I'm still gonna believe. I'm still going to believe. And it's not over till it's over, guys. And I promise you, by the end of the season, I will have a top 50k finish. We will be there inside the top 50k come the end of the season. So don't doubt me, guys, right? The comeback will be on very soon. I'm gonna keep believing. But yeah, it's been a terrible start to the season. 3.5 million. My free hit did underperform. I went triple Liverpool attack, and that was a disaster, right? Ekitike and Gakpo stinking up the place. Salah getting a lucky penalty, right, to save me, to be honest with you. So yeah, triple Liverpool was a disaster. Gyökeres managed to get a goal against Nottingham Forest, which was very nice. Big boy Jean-Philippe Mateta blanking against Sunderland at home, giving me a 2-pointer. I mean, yeah, it's awful. Harvey Barnes as well, blanking, giving me a 3-pointer. Semenyo, though, the absolute GOAT right now, bro. Semenyo coming in clutch with 1 goal and 1 assist. Absolutely fantastic. Things that you love to see. So very happy I picked him on my free hit. And then my defense did pretty well, apart from Sanchez, Munoz, Gabriel, and Dan Burn, all picking up clean sheets, which was very nice. Gabriel managing to pick up defensive contributions in like the last second, right? The last second of the game, he managed to get his 10th defensive contribution, which was fantastic. So yeah, he got 9 points. One thing I do massively regret, though, on this free hit, like honestly, is picking Sanchez. What on earth was I thinking picking Sanchez on a free hit playing Brentford away from home? Honestly, I deserve a slap for that. I deserve a slap for that. What was I thinking? I don't know. That was very stupid on my part, and I've got no one to blame but myself, right? Totally, honestly, that's all on me. I really don't know why I didn't just pick Raya or Pope, to be honest with you, because I could have done that. I really don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, that's on me. So I hold my hands up. I got it wrong, right? That was just stupid. But yeah, overall, really disappointed. 69 points, small green arrow up to 3.5 million. Nothing to write home about, nothing to celebrate. Listen, things need to improve. It's simple as that. But with that being said, let's just move on to my team selection for game week 5. All right, guys, so let's have a look at my team selection for game week 5. And of course, we'll start things off with the back line. In goal, we do have Sells, and then a back three of Murillo, Dorgu, and Pedro Porro. And then on the bench, I've also got Ronaldo and Tosin. So that is what my backline is currently looking like at the moment. Of course, we do have a potential issue with this defense, and that is the Murillo injury. What my plan is to do with Murillo is to just simply wait first to see what Ange does say in his press conferences. If Ange does say that Murillo is not fit to play and will be unavailable for this game against Burnley, then I think my plan is to just simply put Ronaldo into the starting 11 and bench Murillo. I don't really want to be using a transfer on a defender, if I'm being totally honest with you guys. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do if Murillo is not fit and available to play. However, I actually do expect him to be available for this game. And listen, double Forest defense against Burnley away. It's a great fixture on paper, but obviously now Nottingham Forest are under a new manager, new tactics, new system. So I don't really know what to expect from this game, to be honest with you guys. And I'm not really confident in Nottingham Forest getting a clean sheet, if I'm being totally honest, especially with them being away from home. And of course, under a new manager, and they're adapting to new tactics. So yeah, on paper, the fixture is good, don't get me wrong. But in all honesty, I'm not really feeling too confident with Nottingham Forest getting a clean sheet this week. So yeah, let's just see what happens in that game. Then we also do have Patrick Dorgu, who does have a fixture against Chelsea at home. Of course, it's not the best fixture on paper. And of course, Manchester United so far this season have been terrible from a defensive point of view. However, two things I want to say. Number one, with us being at home, I do have a little bit more confidence in us getting a result out of this game. And also, Chelsea in recent years have actually struggled coming away at Old Trafford. So listen, there is still potential here with Dorgu getting points. Another thing that I want to mention, right, because at the moment my strategy sort of is to wildcard in game week 8. I would say that Dorgu isn't going anywhere, if I'm being honest with you guys. So I think Dorgu will probably be in the team for the Brentford game and then the Sunderland game, and then most likely a wildcard in game week 8. So I don't really have any plans to take out Dorgu, if I'm being honest with you. And to be honest, with the sort of setup I've got at the moment, I wouldn't have to play him in the Brentford away game. I think this game will probably concede, right? Especially with us being away from home. So I can actually bench him this week in game week 6, but start him again in game week 7, which I don't mind doing. So yeah, I think Dorgu will stay in the team up until our wild card. I don't really have any future plans, you know, to remove him from the team. Now, we also do have Pedro Porro, who does have a fixture against Brighton away from home. And I think so far this season, we have definitely seen an improvement from that Tottenham defence compared to the absolute stinkfest of a defence that Tottenham had under Ange Postecoglou, right? There has been a massive improvement. So that is positive. But what I will say with Pedro Porro is that I think his appeal, in my opinion, like when you consider that he is, you know, one of the most expensive Tottenham defenders, his appeal for me has slightly gone down because of now the introduction of Xavi Simons into the team. I think Pedro now is taking less set pieces, so I don't really think he's definitely, you know, worth that money, the extra money that you would pay to get Pedro Porro. So I would definitely say, I mean, look, he's in the team up until our wild card. Like, once again, I've got no plans to take him out the team, right? Let me not confuse you guys. I'm not saying I'm going to take out Pedro Porro, but what I am saying is, you know, if I was to wild card or if I was to pick a Tottenham defender, I don't think I'd be spending the extra money to get in Pedro Porro anymore. That's all I wanted to say. But I think, look, in terms of, you know, again, my plans with Pedro Porro, it is just to simply keep him until our wild card, because once again, the fixtures are pretty good. Obviously, Brighton away, I do think that's a pretty tough place to go to for a defender, right? To be honest with you guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham do concede maybe just one goal. But you know, away to Brighton isn't necessarily the easiest game. However, after that, it is a fixture against Wolves at home and then Leeds away. So yeah, I would definitely say, again, my plan really is just to keep Pedro Porro. It is just as simple as that. Let's move on into the midfield and the forwards. And as you guys can see in midfield, we do have Mohamed Kudus, Bryan Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha and Morgan Rogers. And then for the forwards, we also do have Erling Haaland, Chris Wood and Ollie Watkins. And then on the bench, I also do have Tijani Reinders. So as you guys can see, I've got no Liverpool attacker, right? So for me, I want to talk about captaincy, because I feel like this week, as someone who has no Mohamed Salah, as someone who has no Gakpo Ekitike, captaincy is a very difficult decision for me. I think if you've got a Liverpool attacker, it's very simple. You captain whoever your Liverpool attacker is against Everton, right? Because Everton at home for Liverpool is not a bad fixture at all. And with Liverpool being the home team, I do expect them to sort of, you know, score a few goals. So yeah, I'm quite scared, right? And this week could be a very bad week for me. I'm not going to lie. But with that being said, at the moment, as you guys can see, right, as you guys can see, we do have Bryan Mbeumo as my captain, and I'll explain why. So obviously, first things first, right, I'm not going to captain Erling Haaland. He's playing against Arsenal away. That is one of the most difficult fixtures you can get for an attacker, right? So Erling Haaland, even though he is the man in form, even though he is cooking week in, week out, he's not really a captaincy option for me, in my opinion. Now, we also do have Ollie Watkins playing against Sunderland away. Absolutely not. There's no way on God's green earth I'm going to captain Ollie Watkins this week, bro. I think owning Ollie Watkins, having Ollie Watkins in my FPL team is enough. There is no way I'm going to go that extra mile and put him as captain. Absolutely not. Yes, I know, right, Aston Villa did score against Brentford in the Carabao Cup, but I'm going to be honest, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. There is no way I'm captaining Ollie Watkins this week. So yeah, that is definitely off the cards. Of course, I'm not going to do Rodgers. I'm not going to do Kudus as well. His goal threat has been shocking, right, this season. Absolutely shocking. So yeah, there's no way I'm doing those players. So that just leaves Bryan Mbeumo or Chris Wood. Chris Wood does have a good fixture against Burnley away from home. So that is decent. And he is playing in an Ange Postecoglou system. So maybe Forest are a little bit more attacking. Maybe Chris Wood gets better service and therefore scores more goals. So he is definitely up for consideration. However, I still am leaning towards Bryan Mbeumo. Now, I know some people might say, what on earth am I doing? Why are you captaining Bryan Mbeumo? He's playing against Chelsea. You don't want to do that. But honestly, I actually believe for an attacker, this game is actually not too bad. And I think specifically for a Manchester United attacker, this is actually a pretty good game. And I do expect Man United to score some goals. And once again, I know people like to banter, people like to laugh at Manchester United and how bad we are. But honestly, guys, banter aside, right? Banter aside, I actually do think, right? And again, you guys know I'm a United fan, but I'm not being biased. This is honestly what I believe. I do believe, right, taking my Manchester United hat off and just looking at football from a football perspective, not from a United perspective, or a United fan perspective, I actually do think Manchester United score a few goals in this game, right? First things first, Chelsea do go away to Bayern Munich in the Champions League. So there's also an element of fatigue there with the Chelsea players. But also, Man United this season, right, as bad as we've been from a defensive point of view, going forward, right, we've not been that bad. We actually do create quite a lot of chances. And look at, this is what I want to show you guys, right? This is what I want to show you guys. So far this season, when you look at the expected goal involvement from midfielders, you can see my guy Bryan Mbeumo top, right? He has racked up the most expected goals and expected assists, right? So in terms of expected goal involvement, he's racked up the most, right? You can see he's racked up 2.95, and then in second place is Anton Semenyo with 2.88. So Bryan Mbeumo, for me, right, has a really good chance of getting an attack in return. But also, as I said, Manchester United, when you look at our expected goals from open play, we're second after Manchester City. So going forward, we do create chances, and to be honest, the eye test also proves that. I saw us dominate and create loads of chances against Arsenal. I saw us create some big chances against Fulham in the opening sort of 20-25 minutes of that game. I saw us again create multiple chances against Burnley, right? So we do create chances even against Manchester City, right? We got slapped by Man City, right? Slapped 3-0, but even in that game we still did create some chances. So listen, as bad as we are overall and as bad as we are defensively, going forward we can create chances, we can score goals. And I do believe in this game against Chelsea at home as well, in a big game at Old Trafford, we will score some goals. And if anyone's going to score goals in this Manchester United attack, it's going to be that man that you see right there, Bryan Mbeumo. Yeah, it's going to be him. So for me, I like him as a pick, and for me, I'm favouring him over Chris Wood. Another thing that I like about Bryan Mbeumo is the fact that I know obviously he's going to start, but also he's a 90-minute man. He is a 90-minute man, and the same cannot be said for Chris Wood, guys. Chris Wood has got subbed off early in the last couple of games, so I don't know, if I can trust him to really stay on the pitch for the whole game against Burnley. You never know, he might get subbed off in the 60th or 70th minute, right? Because I think in the last two games for Nottingham Forest, as you guys can see, against Arsenal, subbed off after 59 minutes. Against West Ham, subbed off after 72 minutes. I can't trust that, right? I cannot trust that. And when you compare that to Mbeumo, who's just a 90-minute man, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And also, I want to quickly speak on the Chelsea defence as well. One more thing, right? I know I'm kind of rambling here, right? But another thing I want to mention is the Chelsea defence. I'm going to be honest, I'm not too convinced. I'm not too convinced on that Chelsea defence, guys. Every time I watch Chelsea, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable. They can be got at. And I'm watching Chelsea play, and I'm seeing that the teams they're playing against create chances. And there's one specific scenario I've seen played out quite a lot, right, in this Chelsea team. And if they decide to come to Old Trafford and play the way they've played so far this season, someone like Mbeumo is going to score. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a certain scenario, right, where sort of Chelsea are pushed up very high, and they leave Tosin isolated with the last attacker from the opposition team. We saw it against Fulham, right? Tosin was left isolated with King, right? And King scored, but the goal got disallowed. We saw it against Brentford. Tosin was left isolated on transition with Sade, right? And we saw Sade again score, and the goal actually counted. I've seen this sort of exact scenario where the opposition attacker, right, is left isolated with Tosin on transition, 1v1, and they usually score. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan Mbeumo does score in this game. I think the matchup is there for Chelsea, and I think Chelsea defensively are suspect, bro. They're not convincing defensively, in my opinion. So yeah, listen, I'm going for Bryan Mbeumo captain. Let me know down below in the comments, if you don't have a Liverpool attacker, who are you going to captain? I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on that. Now, listen, with that being said, let's speak about Matheus Cunha, because I'm not going to lie, there is sort of, obviously, look, I'm going to wait to see what Amram does say in his latest press conferences, but I'm not feeling confident with Cunha in terms of him being fit to play, which is a massive shame, because I think, again, this fixture for Man United is really good. I really do want Matheus Cunha to play. However, what I'll say is, if Matheus Cunha is fit, he's in the team, I'm going to keep him. However, if Amram does say that Matheus Cunha is not ready for this game, then my plan would either be there's two things I can do, right? One of them is use my one free transfer to take out Matheus Cunha and bring in Anton Semenyo. I think, listen, Anton Semenyo, he is the FPL king right now. He is massively in form. He's looking good. It goes without saying, it's pretty much a no-brainer, right? If I was to bring in a midfielder, again, I mean, in my transfer plans, I did mention Gakpo, and that's strictly just for captaincy. But in terms of, you know, a long-term pick, I prefer Semenyo a lot more, right? I really do prefer Semenyo a lot more. And I think, listen, Newcastle at home, it's not the best entry point, if we're being honest. I think Newcastle defensively have been really solid. However, when you speak about sort of a long-term pick, Semenyo is that, right? Semenyo is that. You know, after the Newcastle game, it's Leeds away, then Fulham, then Palace, then Forest. Even against City and Villa, he can definitely score in those games. So I just think with Semenyo, it's a no-brainer for me. I simply just bring him in for Matheus Cunha, right? That's one option, right? And his ownership is going up a lot, right? 40% ownership. So yeah, he is definitely someone that I would want to bring in if Matheus Cunha is injured, if I was to use a transfer. Now, there is also another scenario where I just simply roll the transfer. Honestly, I think, listen, Semenyo is a great pick, as I just said, but Newcastle at home, it's not really a banker fixture. It's not really a fixture where you'd expect your player to sort of get multiple returns in a game. I mean, Newcastle do have a Champions League game against Barcelona, so they could be fatigued there 100%. But I would say I don't have to rush to get Semenyo in specifically for this week. So if I wanted to roll the transfer, that is certainly an option. And I think that would obviously mean starting Rangers against Arsenal away, and that's certainly a possibility. I might do that, honestly. If Cunha is not fit to play, two options: bring in Semenyo or roll the transfer and start Rangers against Arsenal. I don't know. That's sort of what my team is looking like at the moment. I think Kudus, again, is another player that I'm quite concerned with, but ultimately, he's not going anywhere. As much as, you know, from an attacking point of view, as much as, you know, from a goal threat point of view, he's been really poor. I do think still the plan is just to keep him. I think the fixtures are just simply too good for Spurs for me to waste the transfer taking him out. And ultimately, I do want to cover the Spurs attack. And I think if I was to pick a Spurs attacker, it would be Kudus, because I think he's just a player that's guaranteed to start and pretty much guaranteed good minutes. So yeah, for me, I think Mohamed Kudus is definitely someone that will just stay in the squad. And hopefully the returns can pick up. But yeah, I think, you know, he's not going anywhere. I think he's definitely staying in the team until I use my wild card. So yeah, it is what it is. And the same thing goes for Rodgers and Ollie Watkins, man. Before I do end the video, yeah, Watkins and Rodgers. Listen, I spoke about them a lot this week, right? And at the end of the day, you guys that have been following the channel know that I'm going to continue owning Watkins and Rodgers. I'm going to see out the plan. The plan was always to just, you know, keep them up until Game Week 7 and then take them out. Even though they've been so bad, honestly, with only one free transfer, I just think I would rather just keep rolling, right? I'd rather keep rolling. I'd rather just keep Watkins, keep Rodgers, because at the end of the day, I do believe at some point, right, they are going to score a goal. And I think if Watkins is on the pitch, if Rodgers is on the pitch, if Aston Villa do score a goal, it's going to come from one of these players. I think, look, especially with Ollie Watkins, right? We're talking about a Premier League proven player that scored goals in the Premier League season in, season out. At some point, he is going to score. That's my honest opinion. That is my honest belief. So at the end of the day, guys, I know it's probably seen as very stupid. It's very illogical. But honestly, I'm keeping Watkins. I'm going to hold out all the way until Game Week 7. And then after that, I'm going to wild card and take him out my team. That is what my plan is at the moment. So yeah, hopefully Watkins, hopefully Rodgers can finally get an FPL return. But honestly, I'm not too confident. Now, and to be totally honest with you guys, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if they do blank once again. And if they do, I've got no one to blame but myself at this point. Because at the end of the day, they've stunk out the gaff every week. So yeah, that is what sort of my Game Week 5 team is looking like at the moment, guys. That is sort of my plan, yeah, with the team. I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy. And if you did, smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And also, keep an eye out on my community post section, because I'll be posting my watch-along schedule for Game Week 5. So, yeah, man, it should be a good one. Hopefully, we do get a green arrow this week. But, yeah, man, I think this week is going to be a mad week. It really is. But, yeah, let's just see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, I'm out. Peace.